And you've been watching special NBC coverage of former President Donald Trump's first court appearance to face charges linked to his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. That court hearing likely getting underway right now. We are going to break away to bring you local reaction plus today's other news and weather. And we are monitoring exactly what is happening in Washington, and we'll bring you updates as needed. First at 4 starts now.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
And if you are just joining us, this is the live scene outside a federal courthouse in Washington, D.C. Former President Donald Trump inside the building to face new federal indictments linked to the 2020 presidential election. Good afternoon. I'm Karen Drew. We do want to bring you up to speed on this historic day as Donald Trump becomes the first American president ever charged with trying to overturn an election. It is the first step in a legal process, likely leading up to a trial. Devin Skillian joins us now to walk us through exactly what is happening right now in D.C. Devin.
Historic day, Karen, no other way to put it. Cameras are not allowed in federal courtrooms, so right now we can't really see what's happening in court, but the former president is in the courtroom. Security very tight around the building, located halfway between the White House, Donald Trump once called home, and the United States Capitol, where his supporters rioted on January 6th of 2021. As far as we can tell, the former president entered the courthouse through a series of underground tunnels. Sources have said he will be fingerprinted. He is not expected to have a mugshot taken. Secret Service agents are going to be with the former president every step of the way. It is creating a very unusual situation for a person charged with a federal crime. Special counsel Jack Smith has outlined 4 counts, arguing Donald Trump took criminal steps to try to reverse the 2020 election results rendered by American voters. Former president's attorneys are looking at a First Amendment defense, arguing that Trump has the right to share his concerns about the results, something he continues to do to this day, we should note. Law scholars say it is a huge moment for democracy.
There are elements that have to be proven. That's, you're not going to find that in the Constitution. Specific crimes are not listed in the Constitution, but no person is above the law. And if Donald Trump can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt to have committed these crimes, he should be punished in the same way that any other person who would try to commit these crimes would be punished. That's what the Constitution talks about in terms of equal justice under the law.
Now, this process that we're watching at the moment, expected to move pretty quickly today. The former president will be formally taken into custody, processed by law enforcement, will enter a not guilty plea before he's released. But it is the start of a much longer odyssey.
Meantime, are we hearing anything from President Joe Biden?
So far, the current commander-in-chief on vacation in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. CNN asked him whether he would be following today's hearing, and President Biden said very briefly, no.
All right. Well, we will join you back at 5 o'clock. And of course, unless anything happens in the next few minutes or the next hour.
Yep.
Thanks, Devin. All right. No matter the outcome of the case against the former president, voters, election results, and the peaceful transfer of power are at the very center of this legal action. Plus, Donald Trump is running for president again, which could give voters another chance to render their own verdict in 2024. Michigan is expected to be a key battleground again. Paula Tutman in Sterling Heights for us this afternoon to talk to voters. And obviously, Sterling Heights, a very important stronghold.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're here for that very reason. And it is because more often than not, when it comes to picking the winning political candidate, Sterling Heights gets it right. In the last 23 years, the city of Sterling Heights has had a sterling voting record, correctly predicting the president except once. In 2020, Sterling Heights, majority votes went to Donald Trump, but Joe Biden actually won. That said, with a pulse on the picker, we wanted to know 3 specific questions from Sterling Heighters. Question 1. Given the federal charges of trying to overturn the election in which the state of Michigan was a heavy focus, do you think Donald Trump is a threat to democracy? Why or why not? Let's start with Joanne.
He's definitely a threat to democracy because he doesn't follow the Constitution. He's a tyrant.
Melissa is a mom of 2.
He does what he wants to do rather than looking at what the country needs or the country would like.
Bill is a staunch Trump supporter, no matter what.
I think he's a blessing to our country. He's been shot upon, and he has stood in the light of all that criticism. He has stood for many good things that he did when he was president.
Tom says he's a Trump supporter, but he wants to wait for the trial to make that decision.
If somebody cheated, they should be penalized. If somebody is accused of something and they did wrong, they should go through our system and they get what they deserve. If they shouldn't, you shouldn't judge somebody just because I accuse you.
Question 2. If Donald Trump is a candidate, will you vote for him? Why or why not? Dan is a poll worker whose parents live in Sterling Heights.
I don't think I want to see that again, and the effect that it had on just discourse, public discourse in general, and friendship and family relationships.
Most says while she didn't care for the way he treated incoming immigrants, she liked a lot of what he did.
He's straightforward. Whenever he does something, whenever he says something, he's gonna do it, and he does it.
Henry says absolutely not.
I already knew quite a bit of his history of his dealings back in New York State, New York City. The abuse the contractors went through. Nah. Okay. I knew what he was like in business. I figured he wouldn't be any different as the president.
It makes me very nervous to have him as president again.
Ruth, however, voted for Donald Trump, but says it was January 6th that completely changed her mind.
I believe he blew it on the January 6th thing. He was the president of the United States. He should have acted like the president of the United States, not Donald Trump. He should have told him to stop, leave all that stuff alone, go home. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of my friends feel the same way. He blew it.
Yeah, and the third question that we actually asked was whether or not you believe that if Donald Trump had actually won the election, if you would or would not trust the election process. More or less, everyone we talked to said they have faith in our election process, those checks and those balances, and they believe or rather I should say they believe whoever won. Guys, back to you.
All right, we appreciate it. Paula Tutman live for us in Sterling Heights. Former President Trump faces other legal troubles as well. There are state charges in New York accusing him of falsifying business records about hush money to a porn star. That trial starts in March. In Florida, he faces federal charges connected to his handling of classified documents. That trial is set to start next May. In Georgia, prosecutors are investigating Trump's efforts to overturn election results there. We could have a decision on an indictment later this month. Our coverage of today's court hearing continues on Local 4 News at 5. And we are going to talk to a former U.S. attorney about where things stand in our 5:30 half hour. The small town of Saline is rocked today by gunfire, leaving a 40-year-old woman in critical condition. This all went down on Woodland Road between the UAW building and an assisted living center across the street. Police say a woman working at the center walked to her car in the UAW parking lot during a work break. They say her ex-boyfriend was waiting for her. The police chief describes how it played out.
We got a call of an active shooter that took place across the parking lot at the UAW hall. It's a domestic relationship between the suspect and the victim. The victim was walking to her car, I believe, for a smoke break, and when she was walking across the street with another male acquaintance, the suspect was waiting and just started opening fire.
The woman is in critical condition this hour. The co-worker was grazed by one of the gunshots. The suspect was in a head-on crash while trying to get away and was taken into custody. Police confirmed to us the woman did have a personal protection order against her ex-boyfriend. Okay, so we have some good news for 5 communities in Macomb County. Their boil water advisories have been lifted after another round of water quality tests came back clear. It started with a water main break in Macomb Township on Tuesday. Thousands lost water pressure for a while, which brings the threat of bacteria. Chesterfield Township, Lenox Township, Macomb Township, New Haven, and the city of Rochester were under boil orders. The new test results show the water is now safe to drink. Work to repair the main break continues at this hour. The cause under investigation. Now, there are some extra steps residents should take after the boil orders are lifted, and we did post all that information for you on our website at clickondetroit.com. Sometimes the first forecast is like real estate. It's all about location, location, location. So if you are toward the thumb tonight, you'll definitely want to watch for some possible storms. Let's check in with Kim Adams for more.
Well, that's a great way of putting it, because it does depend on where you live, what you're going to get this evening. Everywhere we'll have temperatures in the mid 80s to even the upper 80s. Downtown Detroit just popped up to 87 degrees, 84 at Metro, 83 in Pontiac, 86 in Mount Clemens. A little bit of humidity out there today, although not too bad. It's nicer here than Green Bay, where it's 90 degrees. Look at Alpena. It's rare that we are actually cooler than Alpena. It's 90 in Alpena, 86 in Chicago. We do have a severe weather risk. It is north of M59. It's a marginal risk. That's a level 1 on the 5-level scale. We do expect a couple of thunderstorms to pop here within the next few hours. Wind and hail will be the primary threats, with a low threat of flooding and a very low threat of a tornado. It's wind and hail that we're the most concerned about. So we'll talk about timing, and I'll show you exact track 40 radar and where those storms are right now.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Kim.